Little late. Had a few things happen. Got my nutty dog in the background annoying me as usual. The start of these programs before he settles down. Well, great, he's on the couch. Yes, welcome to another Monday. I'm sure we're going to be full of a week of news, politics, insanity, which we'll cover today. Gossip, rumor, innuendo, all coming from a viewpoint of a conservative boomer. I just creep into the boomer category, by the way. So I'm old, but I'm not that old. So anyway, it was an interesting weekend. After what was in it, let me just double check that I'm coming on okay, because last week I talked to myself for a while. I am beautiful. So that's great. We're online and going, and the sound is working, and my dog is up again. There he is. Come on, JJ, say hello. There he is. He's got to get his head in the picture now. I think he oh, he don't knock my coffee. He always tries to get under my feet, and this is just a small table I stream from. So he gets under my feet. He nearly sends the table flying and my coffee along with it, which I would not be happy, would I? Yeah, no, he's just down at my feet now. So, oh, God bless him. Don't know where I'd be with him. Anyway, let's get into it. We've got to give you a look at the weather. It's going to be a half-decent day by the looks of it when you get a morning like this. A little overcast, not bad. That'll clear to probably blue sky. Don't know what. It was a good day yesterday. Everybody was out and about. But the bay's a pond. Not a ripple in it. No wind. So they're all good signs, I'm assuming. I haven't looked at the weather report. Just look across the bay. He's neck off back. He's a funny dog. Oh, he can be an annoying dog, but he's a funny dog. So, yeah, we're in for an interesting week, I think, weather-wise. But we'll see. All right. I'll tell you what I did notice on the weekend is when I was driving in the car a bit. Got 3 to read today. 1, 2. Yep. It's not long. This hoodie will be coming off. The days are starting to slowly get warmer. Not the nights. The nights are still freezing, but the days are starting to slowly get warmer. Anyway, Bible read time. We've got on a Monday, always got 3. We've got to catch up with the weekend. So this is 2 Corinthians 12, 1 through 10, visions and revelations. Oh, we're back in the New Testament. Even though Paul received special visions and revelations, he also knew that it was to be weak and ill. He knew he needed Christ's power. I have to boast, even though it doesn't do any good, but I will now talk about the visions and revelations given me to me by the Lord. I know a certain Christian man who 14 years ago was snatched up to the highest heaven. I do not know whether this actually happened or whether he had a vision. Only God knows. I repeat, I know that this man was snatched to paradise. Again, I do not know whether this actually happened or whether it was a vision. Only God knows. And there he heard things which cannot be put into words, things that human lips may not speak. So I will boast about this man, but I will not boast about myself, except the things that show how weak I am. If I want to boast, I would not be a fool, because I would be telling the truth. But I will not boast, because I do not want anyone to have a higher opinion of me than he has a result of what he has seen me do and heard me say. But to keep me from being puffed up with pride because of the many wonderful things I saw. I was given a painful physical ailment which acts as Satan's messenger to beat me and keep me from being proud. 3 times I prayed to the Lord about this, and I asked him to take it away. But his answer was, my grace is all you need, for my power is greatest when you are weak. I am most happy then to be proud of my weaknesses, in order to feel the protection of Christ's power over me. I'm content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and difficulties for Christ's sakes. For when I am weak, then I am strong. That's pretty powerful when you think about it. We all go through those hardships. We all have those doubts. But in our life, no matter what we're going through, no matter how tough life gets, if we have faith, we've got Christ's grace with us all the way through. So That's life. It's a bit of a test, isn't it? It was a test this morning getting up, I tell you. Anyway, and a big weekend. Union with Christ. Philippians 4, 1 through 16 and 19 through 20. A Christian is by definition someone who lives in union with Christ. This union brings a whole host of resources through Christ himself and his people. That's interesting. A Christian is by definition someone who lives in union with Christ. There's a lot of people call them Christians. I don't know whether they live in union with Christ so much. May you always be joyful in your union with the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Show a gentle attitude towards everyone. The Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything, but in all your prayers, ask God for what you need. Always asking him with a thankful heart. And God's peace, which is far beyond human understanding, will keep your hearts and minds safe in union with Christ Jesus. That is very true. In conclusion, my brothers, fill your minds with those things that are good and that deserve praise, things that are true, noble, right, pure, lovely, and honourable. Put into practice what you learnt and received from me, both from my words and from my action. And the God who gives us peace will be with you. In my life, in union with the Lord, it is great joy to me that after so long a time, you once more had a chance of showing that you care for me. I don't mean that you had stopped caring for me. You just had no chance to show it. And I'm not saying this because I feel neglected, for I've learned to be satisfied with what I have. I know what it is to be in need and what it is to have more than enough. I've learnt this secret so that anywhere at any time, I am content. Whether I'm full or hungry, whether I have too much or too little, I have the strength to face all conditions by the power that Christ gives me. Yet it was very good of you to help me in my troubles. You Philippines know very well when I left Macedonia in the early days of preaching the good news, you were the only church to help me. You were the only ones who shared my profits and losses. More than once, when I needed help in Thessalonica, you sent it to me. And with all his abundant wealth through God, Christ Jesus, my God will supply all your needs. To our God and Father be the glory forever and ever. Amen. That's obviously, I'd say, a letter from Paul to the Philippines, who obviously treated him okay. It is interesting. Humans are an interesting bunch. In my life, you have wonderful humans that support you in nearly everything you do. And on the flip side, sadly, I encounter far more often, you have those ones who just want to tear you down. No matter how much good you do, they still want to tear you down. I've never understood that. There are people I'm critical of, but that's it. I don't want to tear them down. If they want to be successful, good luck to them. So I've never understood this lynch mob mentality with a lot of people who claim to be Christians, many of them, who just want to destroy things rather than look at the best. I had a real interesting conversation with one guy about looking at the glass half full or half empty. And I think that's the way we've also got to look at Australia and Victoria and Melbourne with our upcoming elections. We are in trouble in many ways, but look at the glass half full more than half empty and the fact that we can turn things around. And I think when you read the Bible, that's what it gives you. It gives you that confidence to keep going no matter those issues. So there's a certain theme in these. All right, I am the resurrection, John 11, 20 through 27. I think this sort of continues. Bereaved sisters Mary and Martha looked to Jesus for the answer to death. He declared himself to be the resurrection and life itself. When Martha heard Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "If you had been here, Lord, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask for. Your brother will rise to life," Jesus told her. "I know," she replied, "that he will rise to life on the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me will live even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she answered. "I do believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who was to come into the world." So to go back, those first two, it's interesting, isn't it? Just three random passages, and they, on the one day that I'm reading them to you, and they sort of all link in together. No matter what we face in this life, no matter the hardships or the dramas, and I certainly hope, and this is a different theory from what you get in the media, I certainly hope those 5 men from the Sydney Swans are getting some sort of similar message, because their life right now would be a nightmare. They'd be in hiding. They wouldn't want to be talking to anyone. They'd be apologising to all and sundry. They would be losing loved ones, certainly lose much of their career. Their career will never be the same as what it was, all over one stupid decision. And the media put themselves on this holier than thou pedestal, judging all and sundry by their standards, when reality, behind closed doors, their standards would be worse than what they're holding everybody else to. So the only one who can judge and hold us to a standard is Christ himself. And not only that, he's the only one who gives us the hope that there's a better future there for us if we have faith in what he does. So you can go be through in the whole, and I said this the other day, you can be going through the worst time in your life, troubles at work, troubles in relationships, troubles with health, all sorts of things, troubles with finances. And the one constant you've always got there is you got Christ, whether it's through prayer, whether it's going to church, whether it's talking to others about it. And you've got that promise of a better time to come, even if you pass, like I just said there. It's one of the big reasons I was won over to the Christian faith when I read the Bible. There's so many injustices and wrongs in this life. There's got to be something better. And when you read the Bible, there's so many examples there for you. If you read it with an open heart, and you give it a chance to believe in it. Atheists just don't even give it a chance. You get won over by it. It's like talking to Jesus himself in many ways, or the people that knew Jesus best. Obviously, they wrote the books, and you get a feel for the man and what he was all about. So if you sit down with an open heart, you read it, and you sit down and read it. It's actually an amazing experience to do that. So if you haven't done it already, I really suggest you get out there and have a go at it. So speaking of which, and people who need Jesus in their life and Christianity and the New Testament, it's a follow-on from the Sydney Swans thing. And it is that judgmental class in our society, those people that think they're just that much better than you and me. All right? And this has got nothing to do with man versus woman. No, it's going to sound like it after a while. But there's probably just more an example of it. And then there's plenty of men in this boat as much as there is women. And there's plenty of good women out there as much as there's still good men. But we do have that element within us that every time there's an issue or whatever, they just have to take insane sides. Blame this on Candace Owens. All right, so for the last week, and I'll give you examples here again on the tweets. There's been crazy examples of this. I don't even know what you call it. They reckon it's the 5th generation of feminism. I think it's the 5th generation of insanity. Feminists don't do much good for womanhood at all, in my opinion. Feminism is pretty much, I want what men have got. I want to ignore my gender and I want to be a man. Men just get on with it. I mean, there is no similar feminist movement on the men's side. We're just men. We're content. We're not always content, but the majority of us are content being men and doing what we're doing. And maybe, there's reasons for that, obviously. But women were never, God, I'm going to sound misogynist here, but I'm not meaning to. But women until the 60s were never entirely, I'm trying to frame this right so it's not right. They were never entirely uncontent with their lot in life. They had issues with their life. So, for example, not being able to vote. But overall, they accepted they were given a gift that men weren't. And that gift was to bring life into the world. That was what made them, in so many instances, better than men. They not only brought life in the world, they helped to raise that life. They played the key role in raising that life. The man provided for the family, but it was the mother that, fed the baby, looked after the baby until it could grow, go to school, stand on its own 2 feet. Yeah, everyone my age, we knew the importance mums played in our roles. It was massive. And it was like, he's gone. It was like Mary, mother of Jesus, the role she played in Jesus's life. It was huge. She now sits, got a message already. Let's have a look. I've got a message. Yes, we do. Channel. I'll come back to you in a minute. Oh, he's not a fan. Oh my God, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I've got a troll. Okay, well, we'll go through his messages later, or share messages later on. Buddy, I'm allowed to dribble because he reckons I'm just dribbling. I'm allowed to dribble because I'm going to put my face up here on a podcast, go live, and have a chat to everyone. So you're hiding behind the little comment section. Good luck to you. Anyway, I will continue my dribble. You're entitled to have that opinion. I'm entitled to keep talking. So, yeah, the feminists have just gone, and I've got no problem with women pursuing careers or doing things that men did, all that sort of thing. It's when it becomes insane, which we'll give you some examples of, in the way they judge others, and not just them, the men around them judge them that pile on this, that we get this judgmental put down of men, and it's become increasingly worse over the years. So, for example, we always get told about men's violence to women, which is a genuine fact, and it's abysmal. I mean, any man that acts in violence towards women or children or animals is a vile human being that needs his ass kicked. But at the same time, we have a sort of societal violence against good men, where all good men are put into the same category as the arseholes. So, so I'm looking at my conversation here. They'll do the same thing as we're put in the same category as the arseholes. And men have been, between quotas and giving priority kids to girls at schools and universities and, all sorts of things. Men have been, and boys, many of them, not all of them, many of them, have started to question their place in society. And the societal violence against men and boys it's become so profound that male suicide is rising. That in itself is a similar sort of violence. It's self-imposed violence, but it's violence that's inspired by the society that's telling them they're no good. And it's been going on for some time, and we're getting it all again in America and over here. So I'll give you the two glaring examples have just sort of coincided in 1 week. And that is obviously the Sydney Swans thing. Oh, God. Hold on, people. I'm just going to deal with this guy now. But there we go. I might be shouting there, God. It's just I don't mind a genuine conversation when we get on here, but if you're going to come on here to throw dirt or shade my way, what's the point? If you're really courageous, what's his name? I'll get it up. He's on YouTube. Channel name, that's stupid name. Channel name 1019. So a person is not even courageous enough. He has to hide behind some funny, silly, stupid name. This is the sort of person I'm talking about right now. They get out and they throw shade at everyone. They throw judgment, and he's probably hiding in some sort of stupid basement. If you've got any courage, mate, get on my Twitter, send me a DM, come on the podcast, we'll have a conversation. But he gets in the comment section and he just throws it at you. So I had, I'll go back to a comment section in a minute. So anyway, we've had 2 examples of that in the last week. So we were told all last week about this sexual abuse and violence these Sydney Swans players perpetrated on these women in this room, these victims. They were painted for 3-4 days as victims. when we all knew different. We all knew these were women, let's call them women. They're adults, consenting adults, who have agency over their decisions. They chose that life. They knew the risk involved with that life. And they were what they were called waitresses. A waitress is what we used to call a hooker or a prostitute, whatever you want to call them. But they get hired, or an escort. They get hired to satisfy the sexual desires of men. And that has been going on since Adam and Eve. Now, I think I'm not into that in any way, shape or form. Lots of men are. And I think it's pretty weak they are, and it's something you're told by your Christianity not to go near. Thank God. I remember when I was a kid and I watched my first porn video. It just made me want to be sick. It was just disgusting. But there are men who get hooked on it. So, it's a really poor moral addiction to be getting hooked on. But that's humanity. We're all flawed. We all get hooked on some sort of habit we probably regret. I eat too much. I enjoy my meals too much, maybe. I don't gamble a lot, but I do take my Tats tickets on. So there's always some things. I do have a point where I'm easy to get angry. That's a habit I've got. So we all have our vices, right? And whether you're a man or a woman, we play to those vices of others. We could play to the vice of gambling. We could play to the vice of porn. We could play to the vice of all sorts of different things. Corporations play to the vice of overeating, for example. And they put don't believe that, go through your Coles checkout and they've got all the chocolate bars and all that sitting right in front of you as you're checking out. They want you to buy one of them. They play to those addictions that we've all got. So this isn't a man versus women thing. This is a humanity thing. And people who choose this life, good luck to them. I would do everything I could to stop my daughter going down that life because I know the risks that are attached to it. But I would never want it to be an escort. I would never want it to be on OnlyFans, no matter how much money she could make. There's being rich and then there's being comfortable in your own skin, in who you are as a human being. Now, the reason I say all that is I don't think these women should be portrayed as victims. They willingly went to that room knowing what they were going there for. Now, when you willingly submit yourself to that, you're no longer a victim. And the worst part that's so far come out is that they got slapped on the bum 3 times, got paid for it, but on the 4th one, they got refused to pay for it. So now it's inappropriate touching. So when you got paid for it, it wasn't inappropriate touching, but when you didn't get paid for it, it is. They were forced. Don't think they were forced to put cocaine on the bodies for these AFL footballers. These are all rumours and innuendo. Unless there's criminal charges or whatever go up, because I don't think the civic charges will go to court. They'll pay them out. But unless there's criminal charges come up where we hear the whole nasty ins and outs of it, we won't know the full story. But the pile on these men has been incredible. And now we've got the same media that piled on and now starting to walk it back. So they piled on and destroyed these guys' lives, potentially destroyed Sydney's chances in the finals and winning a premiership, put all sorts of people through a horrendous time. Now that same media are walking it back. Tom Morris is saying, well, no charges have been laid. It's been a week. And police, not only have there been no charges laid, there hasn't been any interviews conducted with these men. There's been interviews conducted with others. But it's increasingly looking like that the police are going, this is a storm in a teacup. The police would deal with so much worse than this. They're probably thinking this is a bit of a joke. Especially, mate, you might have some police officers investigating this, for example, that have engaged in far worse. Police have their vices. They have their addictions. I've got no doubt maybe plenty of police have hired an escort in their lives themselves. So if it's nothing more than an escort, maybe the AFL have put their AFL footballers on far too high a pedestal for them to be moralising to others. So the AFL over the last, 30 years have decided they're the arbiter of what social morality is. We have the welcome the countries, we have the pride games, we have all this sort of nonsense about, treating women and all these sort of things, which is not nonsense, I shouldn't say nonsense. But they judge others on it when behind closed doors, they are one of the worst and some of the worst perpetrators of all of it. You know, how many AFL footballers, I think incorrectly, have been suspended because they gave a gay sledge to another footballer? I mean, sorry, that would have had half the footballers suspended in my day because they went on all the time, whether you're gay or not. You know, when you put your morality to the point, it's so polarizing. Whether you're a man or a woman, you got nowhere to turn. And we've come to such a full cycle now on this that we now have men playing in women's sports and everyone's trying to justify it. And all of this comes back to not one, but a lot to this radical feminism groups. There are good feminists that are fighting a noble cause, and then you have the radical element who I'm about to show you today. And a lot of the radical element jumped all over this because it was a chance to push their barrow that all men are evil and all women are victims, and we've got to do something about the patriarchy or whatever it is, and we've got to push back against these evil men. And we can't. And they've come out and said that white men. So if it was Indigenous, okay. If it was Islamic, it'd be okay. These same feminists ignore the Islamic treatment of women. But when it comes to white men, we're evil, even though it was consenting adults in that room. This is nothing more at the moment than a dispute. Dispute about between services paid for and services rendered. That's all it seems to. And I would like, if there's more to this, and there was sexual assault and there was violence, not only should the AFL throw the book at them, police should lay charges, they should go to court, they should go to jail. But if we don't get these guys on a charge, let alone going to court or facing jail time, if there are no charges laid, then what has this all been about? Okay, naughty boys broke curfew, drank too much, and satisfied one of their vices. Okay, suspend them, fine them, don't destroy them. Unless you, like it says in the good old Bible, he who was without sin cast the first stone. But we have a bunch of AFL footballers from the past, and I can guarantee you these guys would have done worse, if not far worse, than what these 5 men did. And they're now all sitting on judgment. Worse, we had this ridiculous walkout on the weekend of 24 footballers that had done nothing wrong. The five men from the Pullman Hotel weren't in attendance at the SCG yesterday, but we have these holier-than-thou types who've obviously never committed a sin saying, well, we'll go support the women's, but we'll walk out on the men's. And by the way, how in God's name is the AFL women's team at Sydney the victims in all of this? They weren't in that room. They weren't on the trip. They weren't in the hotel. They didn't have anything disparaging said about them. There was no bad actions, but somehow they've become the victims. We've lost our minds. If there were victims, they were the 3 sex workers in that room. Those consenting adults went in there knowing the risks they were taking, but they still shouldn't be victims. They should be able to go and engage in their career without any assault. So the worst assault that we know about is they got slapped on the bum once for not being paid, but they were paid for the other 3. We were told there was sexual assault, there was violence, there was all this, but there's been nothing come out about that. So men are evil, women are victims. Let's taint all men that bad. And you had proof positive of it yesterday. 24 innocent men had their supporters walk out on them because all men are bad, obviously. So it's not the 5, it's the other 24, it's the other 40 on their playing list. We'll boycott them all. All men are bad, not just the 5. So if you got 5, and these, I'm not even sure you can call them rotten apples, within your group, then the other 40 are bad. Well, can we put that back on the female side? If you've got 5 evil women, all women are bad, that's just a ridiculous argument. So the other one that's happened, we'll share these in a minute, if you're not aware of it, is this Lindsay Clancy scenario in America. Now, you can have all your conspiracy theories all you like, but this woman was suffering post birth psychosis. She was nuts. She was insane. And she was on all these drugs, and they were trying to prevent her doing something. Bottom line is she conned them all. She'd stopped taking the drugs. She said she needed to go and be with her 5-year-old son for his birthday, got her husband to go out, and while he was out, one at a time, she strangled her 3 kids to death. Now, they've confessed to it. She's confessed to it. The defense has confessed to it. They've all confessed to it. They've got the alibi of the husband on CCTV where he was. It should be a black and white case, but the radical feminist groups are going, no. They've done a Candace Owens. They're coming up with all these conspiracy theories, not to just prove that the woman wasn't capable of doing these crimes, but it was her husband. It was the man. The woman was the victim. Now, what's as insane as that is, you can have that thing. Better come with hard proof, which none of them have done, because there's hard proof on the other side. But now apparently every woman on the planet has this same situation as this woman that slaughtered her 3 children. We're talking about babies here. 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 8 months. She just strangled them to death. Sorry, there's no excuse for that. I don't care what drugs you're taking. I don't care what sort of emotions you're going through. You do that, you should die. Simple as that. Whether you're a man or you're a woman. There's men who'll go out there and they'll slaughter their own families. You know, they'll shoot all the kids, shoot the wife, then shoot themselves. This woman did try to kill herself. She slashed her wrist, the throat, and jumped out a window, but she somehow bizarrely survived it. And that's what's causing all the issues. They're actually some women are trying to convince others that it was the man that slashed her arms and hands and threw her out the window. So anyway, if you look into it, it's just insane. But what's more insane is for a woman who's killed her 3 kids, you now got hundreds of feminists out with the love hearts, the old love hearts outside the court and telling her what she's a victim and there with her. And now it's become a trend, as it always does in social media. So women are getting on, the radical ones, are getting on social media. They're throwing ice into bathtubs because they can't handle what do they call it? I can't think about it. Post-birth stress. So because they've got a kid and they can't handle their emotions, they've got to take their anger out by throwing ice blocks into a tub. You've got these now TikTok videos coming of mums throwing water over their infant baby in their lap for a few clicks. We've got mums they're holding their kids saying they can understand Lindsay Clancy's situation. You can actually understand an individual that strangles their 3 kids to death. We understand it because you men don't get us. You men are evil. Us women have got all the issues in our life. It's just insane. I've got them all here into you. There's another woman that slashed the throats of her 3 kids as well. I mean, what the hell is going on in this world? It's the whole thing. It's just nuts. It's insane. I know, and this isn't men against women. This is insane people versus not insane people. People who are normal do not go around killing their children. There was one woman going on about how she couldn't handle the 1 kid. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. I come from a generation. My mum had 10 kids. It was never an issue for her. We met up with plenty of families that would have, close to 10 kids or more than 10 kids. It wasn't uncommon growing up in the 60s and 70s for there to be large families. Most families have between 3 and 5. Now, it might have been kept hush-hush, but you never heard about this. Mums weren't going out killing their own kids. They weren't slashing their throats. They weren't carrying on about postmortem depression and all this sort of thing. There obviously were issues And there's always emotional issues as you raise your children. I get that. But to the point you have to strangle them to death one at a time, taking 4 minutes to strangle each one. And they've judged this man because he's tried to get on with his life, so he's remarried. God knows how he's done it, but he's remarried, and because he's married another brunette. And, men like, a lot of men, they like brunettes, they like blondes, they like dark-heads, so they're attracted to a certain looking woman, many men. But because he's married another woman with a similar hair color, he's guilty. Oh, because he's a Gemini. He's a Gemini, so he's got to be guilty. I mean, I'm going, oh, my God. So here we are back. What? What? Okay, I've got to let him out, guys. I'll be back in a minute. When he has to go. And that's and he had to go. He used to be so good. He's increasingly, I think he knows we're on camera, and he just got to get his head into this show. But anyway, so where was I? So you just get this whole radical feminist element that just keeps pushing down men. And I just wonder where they're ultimately going with this. And why we got to this point with many women, not all, a lot of women respect men. And if I had a daughter now, God, I'd be vetting the men in their lives like you wouldn't believe. But if I had a son, I'd be vetting the women in their lives as well. And someone called me a control freak. Well, color me pink. I'm guilty of being a control freak if that's the case. I think every parent needs to get back to that. Because what the situation you can get into if you're the wrong partner like this guy did, where he's now lost, he's obviously been devastated having lost his 3 children, and the wife that he loved is now on the verge of going away for life in a jail. And vice versa can happen. Do you want your daughter to be an OnlyFans celebrity who's only got probably a 10-year thing while her body is attractive? She's up there and she's soliciting herself to men doing all sorts of vile things in their bedrooms and basements, probably like my buddy here. Do you want them going to rooms with strange men, snorting cocaine and satisfying sexual needs? Where are the parents in these people's lives, these kids' lives? I mean, you've got to do everything within your power that your children don't choose that path. And I don't see that as being a control freak. I see that as being a loving parent. But maybe that's just me. So just where they're going to be trying to point is how far they want to push men to a point to they would not want men in their lives on this planet. That's where it seems to be going. And it's been going that way since the 60s. I mean, we now have women not only boasting about 1 abortion, for example, but boasting about 8. When you have that many, when you have that approach to life, and when the only thing you've got in your life is sexual gratification, and you go out there and use that sex as a plaything, that sexual relationship, and when the baby comes in your life, as it inevitably will, you see that as an annoyance, a hindrance, and you're quite happy to kill it, well, then little wonder you have women who get there and they have a few kids and they go, my life isn't what it was to be. How do I get it back? Let's eliminate these kids. And men do the same bloody thing. It's disgraceful. But it's increasingly becoming to a point that young men and boys don't know where their place in society anymore. And they need that place in society. So, yeah, I'm probably one of the lone voices, or not lone. I think there's a lot of voices speaking out against this. But in the media, there's not. I put a post up during the week. It went viral. And I said, I know it was in response to a AFL footballer lecturing every man in society. There's been a few of them come out. AFL footballers, get your own house in order. I don't need a lecture from an AFL footballer to tell me whether I'm a good human being or not. I know in my heart and soul whether I'm a good human being. AFL footballers, sorry, your ego many times is way too big. You think you're too important to society. If AFL stopped tomorrow, life would go on. Be a bit of a tragedy. But don't get ahead of yourself if you're an AFL footballer. All you're good at is chasing a pigskin around a football field. Now, it's your relationships in life, what you do with your career, how you make this world better. That's probably the most important thing. And many AFL footballers do a good job. But many AFL footballers too are young men with everyone telling them how great they are, with a lot of money and free time on their hands, and naturally they'll play up. They're young men. They're not a rocket scientist. They're not changing the world, for example, like an Elon Musk. They're not saving lives like a heart surgeon or a paramedic. They're not keeping the street safe like a police officer. They're not looking after people's dental issues like there's lots of different heroes we have in our lives that they're not a researcher who's trying to cure the next disease so we can live longer and have better lives. There's a lot of people out there. They're not a local priest who goes to funerals and provides comforts to those who are mourning or does the baptisms. There's lots of different heroes. They're not your parents that work 3 jobs to give you an education, to give you a good life, or looking after your grandkids so you can work and get a better life. There's lots of different heroes in your life outside of football you don't even know, but just see on the screens or see on a footy oval, who when they walk past you on the streets wouldn't even know who the hell you were. So, we've got the wrong people. I don't need those lectures from them. I don't need lectures from the media. I don't need lectures from politicians. I don't need lectures from celebrities. Every one of those categories are some of the most vile people in their relationships with the other sex you could ever find. Politicians of all people don't need to be lecturing anyone. I manage my life and I'm actually happy. I decide what my morals are, my values are, and that's the way I live my life accordingly, as should every mature adult. We don't need the lectures from up on high to tell us who we are and what we do. And I put a post up on that on the weekend. It went viral. 140,000 looks, thousands of likes, plenty of comments, most of them good, some of them, from the radical groups, and some of them from men who are just jumping on this train. Seriously, I'd like to know how many of these men haven't done something similar in their lives to the Sydney Five. So, and I had one dad goes, "Oh, you don't understand. These guys have got to behave better because my son idolizes them." And I said to him, "Well, then you got your morals wrong. What the hell's your son doing idolizing an AFL footballer?" If you are a parent are relying on an AFL footballer to embed good morals and values into your son because he idolizes them, sorry, in my book, you're failing as a parent. You as the parent need to be installing those values into your son or daughter. You should teach them right from wrong. You to be teaching them, for example, it's wrong to be selling your body on OnlyFans or wherever else as a sexual tool for male enjoyment. It is wrong to go into a room with 5 strangers. God knows, they thought these guys were carpenters. They could have been anything that these women went into their bedroom for, and they were going to be snorting cocaine, high as a kite. What could have happened to those women? That didn't. In many ways, they were lucky it was AFL footballers. They're putting their lives on the risk every time they do that. And there's been plenty of instances through history where that's happened. So we've lost the plot. The radical feminists and the radical, they're able to go about their careers and do a job and blah, 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 really just shows you what little understanding of the true nature of some men are. Some men don't, the example after example of this, they don't give due respect to the lives of others. Now, whether that's to use them as their sexual fantasy or whether that's even more nefarious, whether they would have nefarious intentions of rape or, dare I say it, murder. There's case after case of that happening. So raise your kids right. Teach them right from wrong. Teach them what not to go into. Teach them what to go into. But don't let an AFL footballer, an NBA basketballer, for heaven's sakes, any one of these define your children's values, their morals. For God's sakes, get out there. Do your job as a bloody parent. Once you have a child, you've got responsibilities. You've got responsibilities to get through the tough times, to get over your emotions. You've got responsibilities to raise those kids right, to respect other people, whether they are man or woman. But stop demonizing every man. Stop demonizing every woman. Every individual has the potential to be great. Every individual has the potential to be evil. So those morals and values that we instill in each of our children is very important. But this demonization of men is getting a bit beyond. If they've done something wrong, good, they should pay the penalty. But not every man should pay the penalty. Those 24 footballers that took the field, if they've done nothing wrong, why walk out on them? Aren't they the men you should be supporting? Anyway, let's get into our X thing, and we'll have a look at a few of these to demonstrate the insanity of what we're dealing with. We'll come back to this guy's comments. Should be entertaining. X. God, I'm attracting trolls. So interesting. God, they've made it harder to get into these bookmarks. Here's an example. Couple of they-thems on Gadigal land out supporting the Sydney Swans. So look at this. Let's have a look at this just to begin with. Oh, it's gone on a go slow. Come on. There we go, got it. Respect all women by day and by night. Let those blood standards are. So this one here, she just wanted to get on the TV. She's walked out with the big sign, hey, Mum, look at me. I'm on TV. That's all this is about. Bit of self-promotion. I'm here for, yeah, right, okay, yeah, good on you. And won't even bother. So, these are the ones who have got the high moral ones. I know they're trying. I've come across them. They're perfect in life, and everyone's got to live to their standards. And I'll see if I can get this up. Open. Here we go. I do have it. So I'll read out if you can't read it. I don't want money. All I care about is justice. Justice for what? I'm going to stand up for what is right. Well, none of us really know what is right. What's been done here is what's right. So, for example, is it right for 3 women to be selling off their bodies for sexual fantasies to men? Is it right for men to be engaging in it? From what I can see, everyone in that room was wrong. I'm never going, but not illegal, except for maybe the cocaine use, which everyone's turning a blind eye to. I'm never going to let this happen to anyone else. Really? Really? You're going to shut down the sex trade, are you, love? Justice will be served. In what way? I care about women's rights and what's right. Well, what right of the women has been broken here? They're sex workers. Maybe you could say they got hit on the butt once too many times and get paid. Okay, make that argument. Because this happens too often to women and they get away with it. Get away with what? Sydney Swan, sexual assault victim. There's been no allegations of well, there's been rumours, but so far there's been no allegations of sexual assault. Look at her. Is that a Palestinian? Don't tell me that's a Palestinian. Oh, God, thank God. And so they've got another nitwit holding the sign. So they've pre-printed these signs and they're all got them all out there. I mean, again, it's just look at me. It's just nuts. They need to get a life. Okay, let's get into the bookmarks. Yep, if I can find a prayer. Got to go into the prayer. It used to be right under there. So annoying. Anyway. I do have. Oh. So let me keep going. I'm going to give you an example of the varying standards. So this one's a good one. So this is a good woman. She explains the Lindsay Clancy episode. Just listen up. It's important you understand the context before we get to these next videos.
So who's Lindsay Clancy and what is going on? Buckle up. In January of 2023, Lindsay Clancy, a Massachusetts mother of 3, strangled her 3 kids to death in her basement with exercise bands. They were 5, 3, and 8 months old. Her trial is this week. She's being charged with first-degree murder, and the question is whether or not she was undergoing a psychotic episode and didn't mean it, or if she carried out premeditated murder. So either she's committed for life or imprisoned for life. Now, how did we get here? So after her 3rd kid was born, she started losing her mind. Postpartum anxiety, depression, paranoia, insomnia, and evolving psychosis. And in 2022, she started telling mom and husband that she was having thoughts of killing her kids and started seeking big-time medical help. Now, at this point, she's on at least 12 different medications, including the antipsychotic Seroquel, which includes hallucinations as a symptom. New Year's Eve 2022, she finally checks into a mental hospital. 5 days later, she checks out, saying she wants to be home for her 5-year-old's birthday. Then a couple weeks later, in January of 2023, she's apparently having a really good day. Like she's not being crazy. She texts her hubby saying, I didn't cook dinner, let's do takeout. He leaves the house for 25 minutes to pick up said takeout and grab Miralax from CVS for his 5-year-old daughter. Security footage confirms this alibi, by the way. And while he's gone, she lures them to the basement and spends about 4 minutes per kid them. Then her arms and neck, and then jumps from a 2nd-story window, permanently paralyzing herself from the waist down. She's on 6 medications at the time. Husband returns home, sees all the bodies, calls the police. And that audio recording has not been released to the public, but reporters in the room said they heard it, and it was just sickening. The story is tragic and vile, and somehow online weirdos have managed to make it worse. Some quick facts before I explain. People are conflating postpartum depression with postpartum psychosis. 13% of American women get postpartum depression. 1 in 1,000 get the psychosis. It's very rare, it's symptoms-based, so you can't find it on an MRI, but it typically presents very suddenly in the first 2 weeks after childbirth. Symptoms include hallucinations, delusions, severe insomnia, and yesterday her mom testified that Lindsay texted her in October of 2022 saying, will you stay with me? Something is wrong. Horrible insomnia, anxiety meds making it worse, really, really scary. I don't want to be alone. Patrick testified that Lindsay called him and said she did it because a man's voice told her if she didn't do it now, she'd lose her chance. It's looking like she went crazy. The prosecution, the people prosecuting her for murder, they have a very, very difficult job. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she was not crazy, just cold-blooded. But either way, she's still going away for life because her children are forever gone. That's the tragedy. But instead of focusing on that, online weirdos are blaming the man. Here's what I mean. Blue-haired people, for instance, are throwing themselves out of windows to prove that she fell out of the window weird. She must.
These are the people we deal with. I got one this morning. I'll read through his comments later. Interesting. All her comments.
Must have been shoved. It was the husband. Yeah, Patrick, he was not at CVS, according to these ladies. He hired a body double, drugged her, the children, shoved her body out the house, and then staged the rest of it. And the evidence of all this, it doesn't exist, but he did remarry another brunette after his former wife unalived all of their children. So, guilty. There's also women saying this.
Many of us see ourselves in Lindsay. Many of us know that we could have been only one step away from doing some of those horrific things.
What? Like, get help. She had a psychotic break and committed multiple mortal sins. That's not the same as you feeling down after having a kid. And then there's women out there saying that if men aren't talking about this case, it's because they're abusive.
If you're a man saying, like, she should just go to prison, she did it, Patrick's innocent, leave him alone, he was a great dad, I'm just going to assume that you are abusive.
Yeah. There is not a single piece of evidence that he was abusive. Women, you're making us all look bad. The reality is...
So here's a good woman talking about all the radical feminist women, and she's spot on the money. They are making them look bad.
She was on an insane cocktail of psychotropic drugs at the time of the murders. It's really sad. It's terrible to see that she was severely struggling with mental illness. Mental illness is real, and it is very, very scary. But also, girls, stop being weird and totally sympathizing with the child killer and blaming the husband. Lindsay confessed, the defense agrees, and she'll likely go to the ward for the rest of her life. I swear, these people do not care about the children at all. They just want to make the guy look bad because they hate men. But hey, I mean, at least Candace Owens has a new thing to warp and make millions off of. Everybody needs to go touch grass. So who's
Couldn't
Lindsay
get a
Clancy?
better summary of it than that. And it's right. A lot of this radical feminist stuff is coming from women who just hate men. Same thing with the Sydney Swans thing. This is their chance to jump all over it. There want to be something to it. If it's a total nothing burger, listen to this one. It specifically identifies white men.
This man.
Listen to the words that she says, and you'll understand why a lot of them feel like this.
Telling me they got to the scene of the crime and there was a man standing here just like this, and you have a woman like this. This man is standing here saying she said she our kid. She also said she tried to herself. Now the paramedics come up and say, this woman can't speak. They take her to the hospital where she is intubated and still can't speak. In less than 24 hours, they have decided that this man has not committed a single crime. They walk up to the scene. There is an almost unconscious woman who has no ability to speak. And the only living person who is there is a white man saying,
And there it is, a white man. What does that have to do with it?
A
That
white
just
man.
shows that she's one of those people that believe all the nonsense that she's been fed since 2020 to hate white men.
It's been longer than 2020, but white men are evil. All of us.
wife said she did it. Must be true. That's what you're telling me happened? You're telling me that this entire case is predicated on the loss of a woman who was basically unconscious and going through possibly postpartum psychosis. Definitely postpartum depression, definitely postpartum anxiety, and definitely way too many medications by people who should have been watching what she was doing. This should not have gotten to where it is without a little more digging. And that you can see with the prosecution and how they're talking to their witnesses like, babe, you are just making the case. I'm sorry. I don't care if you believe she did it or didn't do it. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. She is not in a bifurcated case, meaning she can be found guilty basically with reason of...
I think that we get it. If I was a parent and I had my son in a relationship with a person with a nose ring, a neck tattoo, tattoos over their hands, I'd be saying to my son, get the hell out of that. And she proves that. Another feminist who just wants to paint white men guilty. And God knows what she's going to be. Here's another example of feminism and the double standards. There's radical feminists, or I don't know, the new woman, whatever you want to call it. But this is one of these OnlyFans people.
There was Lily Phillips, right? That's her name. She did the same thing. Gorgeous girl.
Yeah.
You're also beautiful. It makes it harder for me to understand because a beautiful woman has so many options. Genuinely.
Well, I'm engaged,
Exactly.
so like I mean.
No, not men. Not men. I mean like life. Congrats.
Oh,
Congrats
right.
on that, by the way. Congrats.
Wait, so hold on. You have a husband?
A fiance.
And he allowed...
Now, this is an OnlyFans, whatever you call them. She's on OnlyFans. I've never been on that, never intending to get on that. And you can see the surprise on this guy. She sells herself, or doesn't even sell herself, but she has on a given night, she would have multiple men have sex with her. But she's also got, she's engaged to another man. Listen to this. This is quite interesting.
allows you to get by 583 guys, and then you go
Fiance.
husband?
A fiance.
And he allows you to get by 583 guys, and then you go to him.
The word there is saying was screwed with an F.
Home to him,
Yeah.
and he's okay with that.
Yeah, well, it's work. It was my job, you know? Going to work for the
Did
day.
he go 584 that night?
No.
It's apparently, I know I find these stats hard to know. She apparently slept with 583 men. This is what the OnlyFans thing's doing. It's sending women insane.
I don't know.
He doesn't-
I just like, what's this guy's deal?
I was gonna say, please, I need to know everything about this guy to try to
my
understand.
fiance.
Like, how does he? And like, I guess shout out to him because he's definitely a team player at that point. But
Well,
like,
he's
Not shout out to him. He should be nowhere near her. If a person has so little self-respect, they see their body as a Guinness Book of Records for sexual relationships. Not a shout out to him. He's insane. Get out of that relationship.
he's just so secure and he's just so confident in you know,
How can he be secure and confident when he's letting you sleep with 583 other men?
himself, and he knows that this is my job and that's what I've got to do for work. Whereas if he went and like slept with a girl, that would be for purely just pleasure.
So if he sleeps with one girl, it's wrong. If she sleeps with 583 men, it's right.
And so he's not allowed to do that. But I can go and obviously film for work.
so
Listen to that for a minute. He can't sleep with one other woman, but she can sleep with 583 other men. And you wonder why men are confused.
you're allowed to do your thing and he's not allowed to do
Yeah.
his thing.
Yeah.
You heard it? That is, oh God, I don't know how boys and men of today are getting through this stuff. It's incredible. My mum would roll in a grave. Here's another one. So, mother slits throat of her 3 children, told their father, say goodbye to your kids. Cops. Now it starts. This is why you don't turn child killers into martyrs. Lindsay Effect. Pray for the children of mums on TikTok. Let's see if we can get into that a little bit. So, Mum, this is back. It's not long ago. Oh, God, hold on. Accept all cookies. This is back in, oh, my God. Bugger off. Mother slits throat of her 3 children. That's what the cop said. Saturday, August 8th, 2026. So this is just recent too. What's going on in America? A mother allegedly murdered 2 of her young children by slitting their throats and attempted to kill another, telling their father, say goodbye to your kids. According to an affidavit obtained by Valley News Live, officers responded to a residence on the afternoon of August 6th regarding a report of a mother who had stabbed her children. First responders arrived to find the mother, 22-year-old Kaylee Earhart, holding a knife to her own throat at the home, per the affidavit. Earhart, who was covered in blood, reportedly just to kill her. After detaining the woman, officers found 3 young children who were lying unresponsive on a floor in an nearby bedroom. The children were all suffering from wounds to the necks. Authorities said a 5-month-old, my God, a 5-month-old and a 3-year-old succumbed to their injuries and died, but a 1-year-old, 5'1", and oh my God, survived the ordeal following extensive surgery. Investigators learned that prior to the murder, Earhart chased the father of the children and grandmother from the home with a knife. The affidavit said the father told authorities that he managed to take a gun from Earhart, disassemble it, and dispose of the pieces before she locked him out of the house. The man reportedly showed police a video he took on his phone of Earhart carrying one of the children with the pistol on her hip. Say goodbye to your kids, Earhart allegedly said in the video. What is going on? So that's 2 women now that have just gone out to slaughter. What the hell is going on? And yet men are the problem. Here's another example. So it's not that we go, these women are crazy. Now we've got a bunch of feminists. First it was safe and rare abortions. Very good point from a strong woman, strong conservative woman. Then it was abortions for any reasons until the day of birth. Now it's strangling and slitting the throats of the kids you don't want anymore. And mums making TikTok videos about how much they hate their children. The left is despicable. Have a listen. Now, that if you follow this Lindsay Clancy thing, there's click after click. Now, there was one really good clip. For her to make that TikTok video, she would have had to set it up, pick the music, get in front of the camera, and you see there's a really good video of these TikTokers who are trying to get clicks on how they set these up. She's got the camera, she'd have the lighting, and this woman who did it once, she even manufactured the tears just so she could get clicks. This is the worst of social media. So she's using a child to get social media clicks. Nuts. That's not an organic thing where a mum's struggling with motherhood. That's her setting it up so she can put it on. You've got to organise it. You've got to get in front of the mirror. You've got to get the lighting right. You've got to get the emotion right. And then you've got to get the appropriate video. And then you publish it. Insane. Insane. That's for tomorrow. That's for tomorrow. Here's another leftist. This is about abortion. Similar sort of thing. It's killing kids. Let's have a listen. Why do all feminists have nose rings? It's probably the most horrible look you can ever find. Don't ever fall for that, by the way. If you get the DNA of a fetus to the DNA of the mother, they are uniquely different. They're totally different. That is a body within the body. When you're having an abortion, you're not affecting the woman's body. You're you're killing the body of another human being with uniquely its own DNA. That's a garbage argument. So because you can't afford to raise a child, kill it? Is that what she's saying? She doesn't know about her. The founder of Planned Parenthood. Amazing. Yeah, little facts and all that sort of thing. Incredible. That's your feminist thing for you. It is hard to. It is hard at times to put a lot of this into words because it's just so inconceivable. Some of the logic that not just women but men are putting out there to justify the slaughter of our own kind. I mean, the amount of abortions that happen per year simply because that child is an inconvenience. I mean, if you're going to be going out there to be sexually promiscuous because you enjoy sex, that's great, but your child shouldn't have to pay the penalty for it. It used to be something, and people say, oh, you're an old boomer, you're a conservative. That was then, this is now. Well, then they obviously had better morals back then, because you had it drilled into you that if you got a girl pregnant, you had to marry that girl. And yeah, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it all become a thing where, if it wasn't convenient, get the abortion. And it's become ridiculous now. Well, you just saw it. That OnlyFans woman that has 563, sleeps with 563 men or whatever it was, but her husband can't sleep with one. They're putting an impossibly high standard on the men in their lives while putting this ridiculously stupid, immoral standard in their own. I mean, that woman just came out and said it, because it costs to raise the children $17,000 and the minimum wage is $15,000. You abort the child. Well, how about we find the money so we can raise the child? How about you rely on parents? My parents supported one of our family with their kid that was unexpected. The babies were beautiful kids who've now had their own kids. But my parents chipped in. They helped out. Family will always help out to support family. It's just not you and the child. Hopefully you've got a good, sound family around you. If a girl gets an unwanted pregnancy and the male doesn't want to have anything to do with it, which would be an arsehole, then hopefully she's got great parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters that will help her through that. Some single mums are some of the best mums you'll ever meet. And they're loving, they're caring, they raise their kids right. The answer shouldn't be kill the child. This Lindsay Clancy thing shouldn't be kill the child. This thing that all men are evil shouldn't be a certain thing. There's lots of good men that if they did get a woman pregnant, they would marry them. They would support them. They would sacrifice a lot of their life because the woman's sacrificing a lot of hers. There's decent, honourable, moral men out there. There's decent, honourable, moral women out there, but we seem to be becoming an ever-increasing minority. I hope that we're not a minority yet, but it needs to be pushed back. And why did I spend this morning going on about this? Because it's a reflection of the Sydney Swans debacle we've got here. Oh, something happened with 5 men and 3 women in a room. We don't know what the hell it is, but the men have to be the arseholes and the women have to be the victims. Those signs said it, sexual assault victims. It was on the sign. There's been nothing come out yet about sexual assault. The worst case to dispute over what they got paid for the services they rendered. That's it. We don't know more than that. If it's worse, then let's wait till we find out what it is. But you've got these people insane just wanting to jump on the men to prove how vile they are, when in reality you've just had proof positive there about the declining morality standards of women. I can sleep with over nearly 500,000 men, but my fiance can't sleep with one woman. I can kill a baby because I'm a few dollars short of bringing that baby into the world. That woman says, and the stats, like that last lady said there. So thank God there was a panel of women of high values and morals. She claimed that, after 24 weeks, she can abort children if it's a threat to life. But the stats say most women aren't getting abortion after 24 weeks because it's a threat to their life. It's because of something else. So where do you draw that line? She said it's the woman's body. No, it's not. It's unique DNA. Look it up. That's science. They throw science down our throat all the time. Science will tell you that fetus has got its own unique human DNA, totally different to the mother. Every human being does. So if you don't want to admit that abortion is murder, don't try and put a false argument forward. And to say that's the woman's body only is a false argument. So it's not the men's morality that's declined. It's not their values that's declined in many instances. It is the women. This OnlyFans, look into the OnlyFans and what is it encouraging? That woman who slept with 563 men, which is insane in a night. I can't remember the one who's on it. The most famous one, she reckons she slept with 1,000. Is that the standard of new feminism? You can go out and sleep with 500 men in a night. I mean, I don't know what you're even trying to prove. What are you trying to prove by that? I mean, and if you're a man, I don't know how that man who knows about this is that woman's fiance. Get some better standards. What the hell are you doing with her? Surely you can go out there and find a better option in life. So before everyone gets on the high moral pedestal and starts judging all these men, maybe get on the similar pedestal and start judging some women. Some, not all. But the problem is the Sydney Swans guys mucked up, made a mistake. No sexual assault so far, no physical assault. Just a dispute over services rendered. And apparently now all men are evil. Got to walk out on all those men who played for Sydney Swans yesterday, even though there's been no allegations against them. There's been no police investigation against them, but it must be a culture thing. So if you got 5 bad apples amongst 50, the other 45 must be just as bad. That makes zero sense. That means in society, because there's people that rape, murder, steal, and all that, then we're all evil. There's no hope for anybody if you extrapolate that argument out. Now, I need to finish on a positive. So let's get back into the main screen. And I wanted to give you some, to finish off, that not everything like that in life is bad. And it just emphasizes there are good people with good morals that understand family, that understand kids, something nice to finish off with. And unsurprisingly, it's to do with dogs. And this is a beautiful video of mothers with newborns and introducing them to the family pet for the first time. And just watch these dogs. I mean, the amazement they have for new life. They have better values and morals than most humans. Just watch this. Beautiful video. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? What a great way. That's what life should be about. Family and pets like this one give us a lot more perspective. They teach us, when you talk about unconditional love, buy yourself a dog. These things give you unconditional love all the time. They're better than humans. And that clip there of loving parents with their newborns, with the dog, bringing them home, and you can feel the love emanating out of that video. That's what parenthood should be about. That's what should love between a man and a woman should be about. Not sleeping with 563 men on one night and beating your chest about how great you are because you're sexually promiscuous. That's not what it's for. Sexual relationships, a relationship between a man and woman ultimately is about bringing new life, new love into the world, God's creation into the world. It's the greatest gift you could ever have. and yet we abuse it all the time. Those Sydney men abused it. Those women that walked into the room abused it. They were all at fault. There was no victims there. They all took advantage of each other's desires. But the pile-on and the judgment, and if you read the Christian Testament, you shouldn't be judging anybody. And maybe I'm putting a bit of judgment into the day. May God forgive me. But that last video gives me hope that there's more of that in this world than there is of the other stuff. And we spent a lot of time today talking about the other stuff, but we need to. And we need to stop this ridiculous demonization of men, because you need the men just as much as the women to create that environment to raise better men and better women, so less and less of this nonsense happens in the future. We just talked at the start that God gives us grace. Well, there's the greatest grace you can ever have. He gives us the grace to get through these times, and there's the grace you've got. If you're lucky enough to have a loving partner, to be bringing you life in the world, to have a beautiful pet, and you're raising your kids right, you are the greatest role model for your children you can ever find. Do not rely on footballers. Do not rely on people outside your household. Create the role model for your children in your own living room, in their lives, when they come home, when you pick them up, when you drop them off. Don't be that mum who sleeps with 563 men. Don't be that man that actually relies on sexual workers to satisfy some partying or sexual desire that you may have. Be the honourable man who'll go out and work and raise his children, make his communities better, instill morals and values. Be that man that your child wants to go with you when you go fishing, when you go to the local footy, when you go to the main footy. That when you make an argument, he pauses and listens to your argument. Be that mother that nurtures your child, that is a loving partner to the man in your life. It is loving women that actually hold up men and make them better men, not women that demonize men. If you want better men in your lives, you women have the power to bring that about. And that's with your partner and the men you are raising. Now, sadly, there are women caught in the trap of having abusive partners, and there is, if that's the case, we've got to get them out. But on the flip side, there is also a case of men having abusive partners. It's not an if-them. Do the stats say it's bigger the other way? Yes, it does. Men are physically stronger, but women can abuse men emotionally, mentally. That's why we have so much male suicide. So we've all got to be, instead of going about men and women, we've all got to, in my opinion, to solve it, we've all got to embrace our Christianity again, our purpose in this life. That's my opinion. You can agree or disagree with it, but let's have a little bit of fun to finish off with. If I've still got them, and I do, let's have a look at the mate who was going. Now, you got to wonder, I get on this and, I made a decision a while ago to do a daily podcast, knowing you get the haters, but I do like isolating the haters. So this guy's having a crack at me. I get on there every day, nearly, give my weekends off. And what people don't know is what else I get in my day. I actually really contribute to society, try and practice what I preach. But I get on here and just share my opinions because I want to push back against a lot of this bullshit we're talking about. But you always get, and he doesn't think he's a troll. Now, you're 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, and the best thing you've got to do is come in under this sort of phantom name, Channel Me, 1019, and he obviously has followed me a little bit. I'll give you a look at a few of his quotes. So first up, Allah loves you. He obviously knows I'm a Christian, so he's decided he's going to have a go at me because I'm a Christian. 9 o'clock in the morning. What basement thing? So he has a crack at my Bible. Oh, sorry. He has a crack at my Bible. The Philippinesians. Don't know he's trying to go on there. At least we can take solace in the fact that Pauline Hanson will never hold any form of power in Australia. Too late, dickhead. She's already a senator in the parliament. So she has some power, and maybe not the power you're thinking of. But I think the polls are showing that she could very well have that. If not her, someone else will eventually. The mythical, here we go. The mythical Jesus never existed. So he chooses not to believe in Jesus. That's fine. Jesus gives us all that power. If you don't believe in Jesus, we all got the power of our own thought and opinion. And he's entitled to that. But I don't have a go at him about his atheism. Good luck to him. But he has to, the atheists always have to have a crack at you if you decide to be a Christian. So he's now saying that Jesus was the myth, ignoring all the historical evidence of it. Anyway, the mythical Jesus never existed. There's no contemporaneous evidence for the life of Jesus. Well, what's the bloody Bible, you idiot? These are written testimonies to the life of Jesus. Testimonies that if people were still alive, you go into court of law and question them and get as proof. There's plenty of evidence if you want to find it. Here we go. He goes in this. Only documents written like nearly 100 years later. Well, does this guy believe in any history? A lot of documents most documents, in fact, are written after the event. A lot of documents about World War II were written after the event. Back in those days, there wasn't even a printing press. You had to write down and rewrite it, all that sort of thing. So it naturally took a lot longer. But again, let's ignore history. And according to this guy, he can go back in time because he's claiming half of them. So half the Gospels are all forgeries. How would he know that? 2,000 years ago. How the hell would he be able to prove any of that? It's his word against those. This is why they call it faith. You read it, you understand it, you find the arguments for it, and you decide to have faith in it. The other half, so vague that they prove nothing. Vague. The Bibles are vague. They're pretty. The New Testament and the Gospels are pretty thorough. They cover the life of Jesus pretty thoroughly and what he taught, what he went through, who he lived with, how he lived, what he believed, how he died. God, 2,000 years later, a lowly carpenter still changes lives all over the globe. But it was vague. There would have been a few blokes around at the time called Jesus who claim, oh, yeah, okay. But do we still talk about them 2,000 years later? No. But the biblical Jesus is just a fictional amalgamation of various figures. What's Muhammad then? Why did the divorce, now he's going to something different. Why did the divorce rate skyrocket then? So we've gone from the Bible being vague and fake to the divorce rate. That's an interesting jump. As soon as women could get rid of the men, they did. So again, it's all the men's fault. So I'm starting to wonder whether this is a male or a female. So it's probably a feminist. They clearly were not content with the social restrictions placed upon them. Okay, so what? So they could sleep with 563 men in one night like that other woman? Okay, so they could kill their children, slit their throats. Whatever, mate. I think you're making a bit of a ridiculous argument. Yes, the divorce rates went up. I'm not too sure whether society improved as a result of that. Our morals and values may have dropped a little bit too. But anyway, let's keep going. You're just dribbling. This guy in a basement or a bedroom somewhere making comments under an anonymous name, and I'm the one dribbling. At least I'll put my face out there. At least I'm up there. People know so many boomer divorces. What, the boomers are the only ones who've got a divorce? Who's the one dribbling now? How many divorces in the following generations? The millennials, Generation X. Ha! At least my generation didn't believe with sleeping with 500 to 1,000 women a night. I mean, goodness me. Well, I'm the one dribbling. Let's have a look at the next one. Because women who spent 50 years suffering a man finally got rid of them. Troll plus people who I can't answer to. Mate, I can answer you anytime. Like I said before, get out of your basement, come on there, let's have the discussion. I'd look forward to it. But you won't because you're a coward. Nobody cares if you have a problem. I don't have a problem. I'm just airing an opinion, mate. So this is what you get. I'm just highlighting this guy because I think it's a classic example of some of the issues we have. Women will do as they don't know how that come on. Women will do as they like, regardless of your feelings. Yeah, probably too. That's not violence, mate. You're having your feelings hurt is not violence. Effing snowflakes, societal violence. This is a dope. So person who says I can't answer to his questions resorts to abuse. So that's the sort of people you deal with. Sadly, when you do what I do and you get a line and you express an opinion, and having that opinion sometimes winds them up. So that's the sort of sorry, just trying to do two things at once there. That's the sort of demographic we're dealing with. So anyway, guys, that's an example of who's pushing back against me. I'd rather be me than them, but that's entirely their right. They can live the way they like. I'd rather to live the way the people in that video with the dogs and the babies and all that live. Much more fulfilling way of life, full of morals, full of values, full of love, full of humanity. And that's the way we should be. It's a good way to finish from me and my boy JJ. Let's say goodbye. He always gets pretty good. He always seems to know when I'm about to finish the podcast. If any of you watched that, I'm not too sure. Anyway, I've babbled on enough. That's where the guy is saying maybe you're dribbling. Maybe I've gone into dribbling. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this program. Back tomorrow with a lot more. We're going to talk about AI and robotics tomorrow. So see you then. If you'd like to come on the program or like to engage in a conversation other than throw an abuse like that guy did, feel free to get in contact. In the meantime, God bless you. God bless your kids. God bless your grandkids. God bless your pets. God bless that flag in this country. And let's get her back to what she once was. Instead of this generation who thinks having 500 sexual interactions in a night is a good thing. Anyway, see you everyone. Good way to start a Monday. Start a week, eh?